Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about Python classes. So what is a Python class? Think of a class like a config template. It defines standard properties like hostname and IP. So each object created from it is like a real device. So a router or switch configured from that template. Okay? And why do we need to use classes? So these are some of the reasons why we need to use classes. So one is reuse, so we can define a device structure once, then create many devices easily. And we can organize or group data, for example, host name and IP with behavior or methods. And scale, so we can manage thousands of devices more cleanly than writing repeated code. And maintainability, so easier to update or expand functionality. So this is the syntax of a Python class. So we define, or we say class in the name of the class, colon. We can also optionally define a class attribute and the value. So it says optional shared across all objects. And we can define the init method, and then we say self, parameter 1 and parameter 2. So this is how we define our parameters. And self, so this is basically, it says here, refers to the specific object being created or used. And dot attribute 1 and the name of the parameter 1, right? And we can also add another attributes. So this is how you do it, right? This is how you define methods. So method is like a function within a class. So the method name, and then self, again, it refers to the specific object being created or used, and then parameter 1. And this is how you define your action. Okay, so in this case, we are just printing the attribute 1 and attribute 2 and using the f string. All right, so I got some notes here. So init, short for initialize. It's called automatically when you create an object. And it's often referred to as the constructor because it constructs or setups the object's initial state. And self, again, refers to the specific object being created or used. So analogy, so we can think of self as this device. And then method, so a function inside a class, it defines what the device can do. So meaning the actions that the device can do. So analogy are like features or actions such as sending a command. All right, so let's look at an example of a simple class. So you say class, so in this case, this is the name of the class, network device colon, right? And we define the init method. So init method is also called a dunder method or a special method because of the underscores in front of it and at the end of it. Okay, so self again refers to the current object, and this is how you store hostname parameter as instance attribute and store IP parameter as instance attribute. And that's how you create or instantiate an object. So in this case, device from the class. So device 1, right? So we are assigning this to this variable basically. So this is the class name, right? And we are passing in this host name or switch 1 and the IP address. So switch 1 will be assigned to host name, and this IP will be assigned to IP. Okay, and of course this is how you access its attributes. So we say device 1 dot hostname, device 1 dot IP. Let me go ahead and show this in VS Code. So I'm gonna say class network device, and then def init, yeah, and then self. Okay, that should be the host name. Let me actually just copy and paste this so it will be quicker. You don't have to type it manually, and then done. So now we can create an object. So an object is again the device from the class. So I can say device one hostname, and this will give us the hostname of the object. So hostname, hold on. We need to define the class first. We need to type this first. So we are just passing in the class name, right? And we are passing in the host name and IP address, and then we assign this object to a variable called device1. And then now we can access its attributes. So host name, switch one, and device1 IP, which is IP. Okay, so that's how you can create an object, which is this, an object from the class, and this is how you access its attributes. So object name dot host name, object name dot IP. So there's an analogy here. So in it, it's like unboxing and setting up a router. So you plug in the host name and IP during the setup. So that's how you can think of init. All right, so let's talk about behavior or adding behavior with a method. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this so we can make this quicker. Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm just defining a method called display info, and of course you have to pass in self, which allows this method to access the specific object's attributes, right? And here we are just printing the host name and IP, right? So now we can create an object again. So device, called device2 in this case. And then we can say that we have passed in router this time and this IP address, router 1. So now we can call the method by doing this device2.displayInfo. So this will basically just print the statement. Oops, hold on. I think we need to copy and paste this again. Let me do it again. Yeah. And then let's copy paste this. And then this. Now it works. All right, so that's how you add behavior with a method. And there's another analogy here for method. So method is like pressing a button on the router. The action is tied to that specific device. All right, so now let's talk about simulating, or let's simulate sending a command. So let me just copy and paste this code here. So this is basically the code that we are, focusing on in this part. So we are defining send command, self, and the parameter command, and we are just simulating sending a command like using NetMiko. So we are just basically printing this statement. Okay, but let me go ahead and copy and paste this code so we can make this quicker. Okay, now we can define a object again. So the object name is device3 and network device, the class name, right? And then we say switch2 this time. It's a string, IP address 192. You can just press the right arrow. I think that's what you call it. Then enter. And now we can access the method. So we can say send command, and then we can pass in this argument, show version, right? Then enter. So this will basically just execute this print statement here. Okay, so sending show version to, so switch is this, hostname is this, switch2, and IP address is this, which is what we see here. Okay, so show version is the argument passed to the method send command. Okay, so just a summary. So class is a blueprint or template like a network device, like a network config standard, and object is the actual device created from that template. And init stands for initializer that sets hostname or IP, aka constructor, and self, the specific object or device, and method is the action a device can perform, and argument, data passed into a method like show version. All right, so that's all I wanted to cover in this video. So hopefully you found this video useful. If you have, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.